It's going to be the package from China and maybe the ultimate one. The Game Kiddy is back with the Bubble Classic. At first noticing this device I'm like, wait, what is this thing? But I can tell you, this thing really surprised me today. I'm getting some really nostalgia vibes with this. And the Game Kiddy Bubble is, it's a unique device. Something you don't see very often in the piles and massive overflow of freaking devices. So some of the companies will give you the option to add new storage, and this company will give us like a SanDisk Ultra. So that's great, and I think I'm very happy with it, because sometimes you're giving these, like, say, very cheap SD cards that get corrupted after, like, say, 3 times you're booting it up. But what made me actually really exciting, but also a little bit of a nostalgia feel, and this is actually how this thing looks. This is maybe not a familiar device to many of you, but why is there an end on my desk? However, let's continue. The thing is actually, this is a very interesting piece of equipment, and the form factor and everything reminds me of the Sega Game Gear, but this is going to be so much better. The first thing I find really cool is the design itself, but it is also quite comfortable. The first test, of course, I'm going to be doing is actually by holding the device. And at first I was thinking, when this thing came out, oh man, this is going to be another mini teeny Game Gear version. That's not going to be playing very well because of the, let's say, way too small form factor. But when you're going to be looking at the mold, they have like this dent in the middle. And if you're going to be holding it like this, it's just going to be very comfortable. Another choice is interesting, but also unique to this device, so far I understand, is that when you're going to be feeling the back buttons. The back buttons, you can also have the same configuration we have seen with different devices, that we have different height difference. But the travel, it's like normally, like most of the time they're micro switched, but no, they went for the option for normal membrane buttons. And I can tell you that I don't know if this is going to be the best choice ever, because they have like a very nice wiggly feel to it, but they feel very comfortable. And my thumb is landing exactly on the D-pad, and the D-pad construction is absolutely great, having this floating D-pad configuration that we have seen, and makes most of these things very comfortable. 2 joysticks with a click, over here 2 micro switch buttons and a normal button over here. So at the top we're finding even more connections. So I already mentioned the shoulder buttons, then we're having over here some other buttons like the on and off switch. We're having a mini HDMI out, headphone jack, that micro SD card will go on top over there, the home button, or at least mapped to the special menu. At the bottom we're finding even more options. We're having another SD card, we're having an USB-C, volume control, a physical one, and 2 speakers. So if you're going to be looking at this device, I must say that I'm very pleased with it, and that makes me really exciting after a very long time and many reviews. Let's see what the Game Kiddy brings us more. Having over here the manual, let's see, that is in different Asian language. Then the quick start guide in English, that gives you like a nice overview what you can actually do with this device with an HDMI, common operation, the FAQ, and the Kiddy Bubble warranty certificate. Okay, so you actually have an option for the warranty over there within 7 days purchase and etc. So that is interesting, and of course the quality pass. But let's see if it will really pass the wicked test. Okay, so let's see what's going on with these SD cards. That's another thing, and I think it's going to be a very cool addition, and it's going to be such an overall better experience. So let's see, are these actually real ones? It seems to be that they're like real legit SanDisk Ultras. Okay, that's good. Let's see where we're going over here. System TF needs to be on top. That's how I like them. And just click it in, and that's it. Let's power it on. And let's see what's going on with this. They went for the LEDs over here. Oh, okay, that's not going to be it's going to be helpful. But let's take a close look at the menu itself. Man, the front glass is super glossy, so it's going to be a nightmare to actually record. Okay, I think that's the best way. So what I understand, they're using emulation with this, and I must say I really like it, what they did with this. So the overall design of the menu is nice, but when it comes to performance, you know, it's always funny they're adding like a lot of stuff like N64 PSP, but let's see what they added to those, because we do find some limitation. Let's see what's going on over here. You can see there are only a handful of games there, and that has to do with the limitation of the device. PlayStation Portable can be played without any problem whatsoever. But let's do a little bit of an overview, PlayStation Portable and some other devices to see how far we can actually push this thing. But I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. But again, this is one of those devices that you're going to be using for, let's say, basic emulation. But I think one of the extra appeals to this is that this very cool looking D-pad floating design, and the overall touch itself is very nicely. But yeah, let's do a quick overview, a couple of games and see what is going on. Pressing A, and this is one of the cool, let's say, things. You can even make a quick save, and if you're going to pressing A, you automatically can go into your save point if you have any one of those, let's say, installed. You can actually see that we do have a little bit of struggle when it comes to the overall emulation performance. That's of course something to do with the overall performance. I have lost the Titan Dead Alive 2, and the simple reason because it is pushing this device to its limit. So over here we can actually see I'm going to be plugging in the power cable. It's still an okay playable situation. So you can actually do the normal move, and that is one of the reasons I'm going to be having a lot of fun with this overall design, because the D-pad giving me like the overall ultimate experience. So let's see, pressing the button over here will give you the option to go back, make a quick load, quick save, and this way we can just go to the menu itself and just choose a different game. The software itself is great. You can see with the Game Boy we do have this bezel. You can disable it if you want to, but it has been set to the right resolution. And like I mentioned before, I'm expecting to have like overall great performance when it comes to all the way to PlayStation 1. So in Game Boy will not have any problem. So the unfortunate is like we don't have any configuration when it comes to getting back to the main menu instantly. So it has been set to the only button over here. So we need to close content and go back there. So what I actually understand. Wanted to play some Doom 64, but oh man, these freaking games always have like insane freaking low brightness. Let's see if we can crank it up. Let's see if it even helps. Nah, it helps a little bit. So we can use the D-pad, we can use the analog stick. But what is kind of cool that we can actually play some Doom 64 on this. So where I expect to have not like the perfect overall emulation for every single game, we can actually play Doom. Okay, now I need to figure out which button to actually press for the freaking menu. Okay, so they have been setting up certain, let's say, C button function to the right joystick. But so far, this is a playable situation, so that's actually kind of cool that we do have an option to play some of the N64 games. But how about the NDS emulator? So the overall performance is surprisingly quite good. So you can mess around with the displays by pressing the buttons. They configured it correctly. So if you're having one display set, you can just switch fairly easy. But this way, if you have a game that only mostly needs one display, you can just play like that. So one of the, let's say, systems I'm normally going to be utilizing with a device like this is going to be games like the PC Engine of Bomberman. And they're playing absolutely awesome here on this. And I think it's kind of cool that they absolutely like filled up the screen perfectly. It makes the overall fun experience of playing these old school games so much more better. So when it comes to playing these old school games, I think this is what you're going to be actually using this device for. We had the option to actually make, let's say, in quick load, quick save and do all of the cool features and having all kind of fancy stuff, but this is something new. We have seen it many times before now. So I didn't think that case. I think it's a question more like, do you like the overall design? So one of the things I'm really surprised by is the overall quality of the audio. This thing has a very nice punch when it comes to that. That's thanks to the two speakers at the bottom. So one of the features I think it's always very important Another thing I also noticed when playing some Twisted Metal 2 on the PlayStation, a lot of the, let's say, devices, it's not going to be super comfortable because we're going to be utilizing the shoulder buttons a lot for switching weapons, also shooting the machine gun and shooting the special weapons or rocket. And I think the form factor is just perfect. But then let's play, because when it comes to playing, another thing I've noticed, like the D-pad is super important. Because you're going to be using the steering and acceleration. You can actually use acceleration over here. Let's see which button I actually need to use for accelerating. There we go. Also the distance between, let's say, the buttons is good. Where normally I'm not a big fan of, let's say, the overall design of these tiny buttons. I must say that I am quite surprised by it. So PlayStation Portable is not something you're going to be have like the ultimate experience. This is to do with the screen resolution, but also when it comes to the power. So you do have like frame skipping enabled and everything else. And if you're going to be playing these games, yeah, this is going to be an okay experience. You can see you have like black bars. It's not going to be a big problem. But you know, I think there are better handhelds out there if you want to experience the PlayStation Portable. It's a fun extra, I think, particularly when it comes to the basic games. That's going to be a lot of fun. But if you're getting into the game, you will notice that it's not like the overall best experience when it comes to playing games of the PlayStation Portable. It's actually going to be an okay experience. You can see like some hiccups here and there, even with the frame skipping enabled. Both the joystick and D-pad seem to be working fine. I must say I really enjoy playing this game with the D-pad, and I think it's maybe even a little bit better than the original PlayStation Portable, but you can see like it hiccups and it's still like a native resolution. So, you know, when it comes to a device like this, I would not really buy this actually or use this a lot for PlayStation Portable. So if you want to use the HDMI output, you're going to be needing to set the full system, but after a simple reboot, it managed to get yourself like a TVO function, and that's kind of cool. So the overall feature, look at this Frankenstein situation. I have like two cables attached to it, but the point is that we can just actually play now our games. It looks a little bit more, you know, let's say pixelated when it comes to the signal output. But so far this is going to be a lot of fun. We can just easily play our game through television. I think that's one of those options we're going to be seeing more and more often. So let's see what's going on with the overall audio. Yep. We didn't have like full screen, widescreen shenanigans. But so far you can actually play, no problem there. Man, I love this D-pad. So that part seems to be working all fine. So let's make a save state. And then we're going to be doing the exit mode over there. And however, when it comes to, let's say, the setting itself, here we can just change out a lot of things. We can configure sound settings, system settings, and that is great. If you don't want to tinker, just leave it as it is. But so far out of the box, everything has been set up correctly. We can mess around with the game aspect ratio and everything else. But again, there's stuff that you don't need to touch if you don't want to tinker. So far I've checked out, it seems to be working all fine. The Game Kiddy bubble, I never heard of it, but I must say that I'm kind of excited with the form factor. It's not too big, but it's also like very comfortable with the D-pad, and I'm a D-pad gamer, so I'm going to be using this thing. But actually, I must say, just for basic gaming, some of the games, like I mentioned before, is like will have like struggles, but you know, it's still playable to a certain point. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think, and it will be great to see you in the next video.